put her in handcuffs. And I'm like, she's pooping on me. And she frees one of these big giant boobs and it just kaboom, like right on the ground. Our president's black. And now I'm wearing a painting of Barack Obama. I've been a cop for 8 minutes. They don't teach you this in the academy. Here's this woman wheeling a dead body down the road in a wheelbarrow. Nobody cares. I went into the recruiter's office after I got off the boat and they kicked me out. So I had fish guts and fish all over me and they said I smelled too bad. You know, I think that whole war was very shady. Not very proud of that. That's why I didn't write about it in my book. When you invest into your children and you see them succeed, like you kind of stop caring about your own success and your own, because I was really into myself. You know, recently rededicated my life to Christ. I've been a good father, I've been a good husband. The one thing I'm not is a spiritual leader in this house. And then I went on the Helene trip, Hurricane Helene, and I knew that body behind the rock was going to be his body. And then he was going to go do it in the church. And I said, well, I'm going to come in there and sleep with you. And he started to cry, and I started to cry.
G'day, mates. It's your host, Mary O'Neill Phillips, and you are listening to Country Outdoors Podcast. G'day, everyone. Welcome back to Country Outdoors Podcast. I am your host, Mary O'Neill Phillips. Thank you for tuning in. A reminder, we are an independent brand, so we really appreciate it if you like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, on today's episode, I have a very interesting character who I've just spent the last 4 or 5 days with learning how to scuba dive. His name is Tansey. He is a former combat vet and cop. He's the author of Pig Latin, a serious, funny story. He's the creative director of Ranger Up. He is a father to 5 beautiful children and a beautiful wife. He homeschools his kids. Lots of wild stories. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I'm so pumped to be on your show.
Me too. Now, wanted to address where we're at first and the bruising, because we'll just get that out of the way. We're down here at Scuba Diving International. You have set this up for the week for us to come down here and learn how to scuba dive as celebrity attendees for a new project being created to take wounded veterans out onto the water. This is very self-inflicted. As a new diver, I completely forgot to regulate my mask going down, which ended in a mask, what do they call it? Mask suck?
Yeah.
Something like that, essentially.
Sucking mask syndrome? No, I'm just kidding.
Sucking mask syndrome. Essentially, my eyeballs almost got sucked out of my head, but it's completely on me. So, you know, just get over the look. Otherwise, I'm just going to tell everybody that you punched me in the face.
Her Zach is injured, and so he couldn't dive with us. So I ended up being your dive buddy. And when we got back to the barbecue, Jack saw your face, and he just looked at me, and he was like, "You mother," you know what I mean? Like he was like, "What did you do?"
He said, "Because I wanted to do it."
Yeah, I was like, "Bro, I didn't do it. I swear."
Okay, so we're down here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the program and how you put this together, but, you know, going back to your own personal career and then how it led to this.
That'd be a super long story. No, it was great to meet with these guys, and I'd worked on a project with some of them with a dive recovery team, and we were doing recovery operations during Helene, looking for bodies and trying to connect missing, families with their missing departed family members. And at the end of that trip, I met up with Thomas, who is one of the guys here at Scuba Diving International. And he was like, man, I've been really trying to get Scuba Diving International to start doing some nonprofit stuff with veterans. And you're with Ranger Up, and you're a creative director now, and you've done a lot of things in the space, and you have a lot of contacts. Like, what could we do? And I just finished a celebrity golf tournament with AJ Buckley from SEAL Team. And I was like, dude, what if there was like a celebrity scuba diving initiative to where we could select veterans to scuba dive with celebrities? And he was like, man, do you think you could get some celebrities? And I was like, oh, I could do that. Could you guys accommodate that? And so this was a trial run. So I picked people that I already knew and people that were good people. And AJ was like, oh, Mary's down. So she's not gonna, she's a trooper, and AJ obviously is a trooper. And then Jason from Breaking Benjamin, I had known him. I knew he was a trooper. So those were the, and then mandatory fun day. So those were the 4 I picked, and you guys all said yes, which was crazy to me. Like, what was that for y'all? Like, you can't just say yes to everything.
No, but so firstly, I thought as much as possible, I like to be able to donate my time to things, to nonprofit causes that I can commit myself to. I thought that this was a really unique opportunity for me to not only participate in something potentially in the future with people that really need healing, but also an opportunity for me to learn something, a skill set that I haven't been able to as well. So I thought, and be around some new people that I would love to get to know. So yeah, all around it was to me a no-brainer to be involved.
Yeah, it was wild. Like, you came straight from Australia to here. Jason came straight from England to here. Austin, from Texas. And yeah, it was just really cool to see how you guys all came together. And AJ, he had to leave one day early to go back to get on a set. And so we lost him just for the last day, but he still got certified. It was just really cool. Like, everybody gave their time and came out here on this new kind of like trial project. And man, it was such a good week, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome.
So fun.
What is your vision for this program?
I think what we've learned from this program so far is that we need a board, and you guys are on the board, obviously. And it's bigger than what I thought it could be. I think it's bigger than what Thomas initially thought. And, and working with Thomas, but I think we do one more batch of celebrities. We're going to do a trial run of some handpicked selected veterans to get certified. And then the next thing is to go out and do an actual dive, maybe in Aruba or Bahamas or something like that, maybe Mexico, something bigger, and see what that looks like. And then eventually what we'd like to do is have the program sponsored to where we can work with other nonprofits, because we're not going to, Scuba Diving International is not a nonprofit. You and I are nonprofits, but we can have them select and vet veterans, submit those veterans to us. And, whether they're Gold Star families, wounded veteran, combat veteran that just deserves it. Because, a lot of veterans are doing crazy stuff out there and they need recognition too. But we'll let them pick, right? We'll let them decide.
Or the first responders.
Yeah, or first responders. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to dedicate a slot. We ideally we'd like to have one wounded veteran, one disabled veteran, one regular veteran, one first responder, and one Gold Star family. And then, this is a family event too. And so we worked with the Chapman Seamanship School, and they donated their barracks, which are beautiful little apartments, beautiful. Yeah. And have all the families right here. And that's the future goal.
So now that you've done the course and had the opportunity to scuba dive, obviously yourself, you are a veteran, you are a former first responder as well, who has seen a lot of stuff in the field. How was your experience in the water?
For me, like, obviously I've had trauma since I was 19, right? So when people talk about trauma and stuff, like, I'm not, obviously I've seen a lot of, I've had a lot of traumatic experiences from being wounded in the line of duty and being in combat, and not to say that my trauma is any more than anybody else's, because it's really not. But, for me, it's been a part of my life for 22 years, and I knew I was getting into it. So my traumas really don't affect me the way that people who weren't expecting it, maybe. I don't know. I don't have the scientific answers, right? I'm a layman. I'm a C student at best. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But for me, I always like to say, when people ask me about my book or whatever, as I say, man, I work too hard for my demons to bother me. Like, at the end of the night, my demons are too tired to mess with me anyway, So I'm not really affected by those demons. But being in the water and being, because I do have 5 kids that keep me very busy, I think it was really just so magical how everything goes. It's like jujitsu, right? You can only think about one thing, not getting choked out. But this was like different than jujitsu, because it was like ultimate peace. Just laying on your back and looking at the sky, just laying out there on the water. Just like, it's kind of just nothing going through my brain, to be honest with you, which is beautiful. And I think that people that do have maybe, intrusive thoughts, this is you don't get to have them here. And you can't have intrusive thoughts scuba diving. It doesn't work. There's too much to do. You got a compass, you got gauges, you've got your buddy, right? Like, there's so much going on. And then you have the serenity of the ocean. Yeah. It's such a beautiful place.
I want to go back to your career as a combat vet and then lead into your career as a cop. And I know you speak about a lot of this in your book, hopefully to become watchable at some point. But yeah, let's go back into all of that and how you kind of ended up here.
Super fun. So I'm born and raised in Saint Augustine, a couple of hours from here. Beach boy my whole life, surf team, surf club. Was on my high school surf team at Allen D. Nease High School when before I switched over to Bartram Trail, and was a water boy my whole life, and worked on a deep sea fishing boat after high school. And the war kicked off. I graduated high school in 2002 and right after 9/11. And I was working on a deep sea fishing boat, living on basically on the water. I was living on the intercoastal, and the bridge just went right over to the ocean. And I was driving to the ocean. I had real long hair. I was about 135 pounds, living with my two best friends, eating fish and tater tots every day, living the good life, just not a care in the world, no kids. I had about 100 guppy fish in 2 different tanks that I was really proud of. But I was driving down to the boat, and the War of Fallujah was on the radio. This is before YouTube, before anything. This was like 2003-ish. And the Battle of Fallujah was on, and I instantly felt something I'd never felt before. And that was like it was maybe like probably the one time I can say that was God called me to do something, right? Like, I don't know. I can't explain it to you. I wasn't extremely religious at that time or anything like that, but I knew in that moment driving over the bridge at like 5:30 in the morning that I had to go join the military in some form or fashion. And that was very foreign to me. But I went into the recruiter's office after I got off the boat, and they kicked me out of the recruiting office before I could even talk to a recruiter.
Why?
Because I had fish guts and fish all over me, and they said I smelled too bad. And they said if I was really concerned about being in the military, I would go home and take a shower first and come back. So I had to wait a couple of days till it was my day off. But this was like pre 9/11. They weren't really like
needing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a thing yet. And I don't think they knew this war was going to be a 20-year war. But yeah, they were like, "Ooh, what's wrong with you? Get out."
Yeah, and then fast forward, they're like, "Please come in."
Yeah, and so then I finally did get to see the recruiter, and she's told the story to a number of people. But I sat down and I said, I don't want to be in the military, but I just want to go to war and do my part and get out. And so she convinced me to become a Cav Scout, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know what that meant. Didn't have a clue. I was like, if that's going to get me deployed really quickly, let's do it. So I went to basic training, super young. I was 18, 19. At 18, I turned 19 there, and then went to basic training, and literally like maybe 9 months after I graduated, I was deployed, and I was the youngest person in the group, and I got attached to an ODA. Didn't even know what an ODA was at the time, never even heard of it. And here I am thrust into the middle of nowhere, Afghanistan with
what does an ODA mean?
It's a Green Beret team. It's an operational detachment Alpha. And they needed a shooter, and they were like, this guy scored really high on all of his shooting, so you can have him. So now I'm 19, I'm with all these bearded dudes, and we're living off the land, and it's 2005, still kind of the beginning of the war. And we were hunting bad guys, and it was just wild. And they were such a great team. And I knew that's what I had to be. So I left. When I got back from Afghanistan, I went and tried out for the Green Beret program, and I went to selection and got selected, which was a miracle because, again, I like to tell people, and I said this on the Andy Stump show, and I don't think he appreciated it, but there's a learning curve that everybody has, right? It's like a line, and that's, I think, where most people is here. And not for nothing, but my line's down here. But I learn at a faster rate, I think, than most people. But maturity-wise and everything else, I'm still far below everybody else, but I can catch up to you really fast. But the problem is when I start, I'm always way behind. And so I really figured that out in the selection process and when I was going through the schools at Green Beret. That's like, I was just maturely behind everybody. Academically, I was behind everybody. And, it took me a minute to catch up, and it was very difficult for me. And I learned a lot about leadership there, I think more than anybody. And it was, if you look at it now, I'm 42 now, old man, but I look back to everything that it was. And I always saw it as a failed career because I did not graduate the Green Beret course. I made it all the way to the end. And I got caught in a defrauding the government situation. A couple of people that I lived with were defrauding the government going through the Green Beret school, and I got caught in the investigation, and I got not guilty.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so basically they had a house, and they were renting out rooms of the house for full basic housing allowance from the government at the time, and I was renting one of those rooms, but they were making all the money, not us. But since we were living there, we got caught up in the investigation, and so we got sent back to teams since we were so far in the course. but we were on a probationary status and we thought to get our Green Berets, we would have to come back. And my team was still doing things and I was doing things with them and I was going TDY and doing all these things with them. And enough time lapsed that when I went to go back, they were like, you've been gone for like over a year. Like, you got to start from day one. And at that time I had met my now wife, who was not thrilled and definitely said the answer is no, I would never marry somebody. And so that was kind of my way out. And I'd already done a lot of cool stuff. And, honestly, I knew I wasn't a career military guy anyway. Mm-hmm. And so
you knew that from the beginning.
I knew that from the beginning, but the way the Q course worked for me, and I think which makes my journey a little bit different, and I see it now that I'm 42 versus then, is small unit tactics phase is the hardest phase of the Green Beret course. It's their Ranger school. Essentially, it's 9 weeks long. Very, very difficult school. And you're up very late every night and you're completely operational all the time. And all these guys were higher rank, very mature, had a lot of military experience. I mean, some of the guys on my team I had 2 Navy SEALs that were going through the course, so they had a lot of experience. There was a guy there that was a sniper for like the 3rd Infantry Division. And I think he had like a Silver Star and a Purple Heart. A lot of guys were talking about him. One of the Lost Boys from Africa, from the Congo. Remember when they brought all those Lost Boys in 60 Minutes? One of those boys that was on 60 Minutes was in my class. Wow. So it's just a bunch of studs. And so it's a leadership style course, but it's ultimate pressure. It's 9 weeks long. And I went through the whole thing and they do peer evals. So you're on this team of studs and every week or 5 days, whatever, they do a peer eval. So if you got 8 guys or 14 guys on your team, you have to put who you want to serve with the most, who you want to serve with the least. And then you have to go 1 through 14, who you'd want to deploy with. Which is really hard when you have 14 guys that you love. Like, imagine this weekend, if you had to choose out of, the 8 people that we worked with, Amanda, Thomas, all those, if you had to pick 1 through 8, who you'd want to work with, like, it gets kind of difficult, right? And I appeared 3rd highest in the class. And so that was really, really cool for me. And I thought at the end of the class that this was going to be great. I'm going to pass and I'm going to move on to the next thing. And so they bring you into a murder board to let you know how you did. And they said, you appeared 3rd highest in the class. How do you feel about that? And I was like, oh my gosh, I did. That's when I found out. And I was like, yeah, it's really great. I just wanted to be a team player. And I'm glad people like me, right? And they're like, do you know why you appeared so high? And I was like, because I'm funny and I carry heavy stuff for a long way. And they're like, yeah, you're a pack mule. But every time we gave you a leadership opportunity, you pass it off to somebody else. Even then, we try to make it obvious that we want you to be a leader. You would still give that away and continue to carry heavy stuff. We're not looking for pack mules. We're not looking for popular guys. If we were to ask you to show up on Monday and start from day 1, would you? And I'm like, oh, it's a test. It's a test. Like, of course I would. But, mentally, physically, no, I can't. Yeah. But I just said, yeah, of course. And like, we'll see you on Monday. And there was 2 tents at the time. There was no barracks at that time. And 1 tent was for all the failures and 1 tent was for all the past. But I'm in this weird, so I walk out and the guy's like, which tent are you going to? And I was like, did they say you failed? I was like, well, they said I have to try again. So he's like, fine, go to the pass tent. So I was like, oh, I passed. Like, they wouldn't send me to a pass tent if this wasn't a joke, right? So I get to the tent. Of course, all the boys are in there. They're like, Tansey, yeah, dude, you made it. There's supposed to be a big steak dinner because we've been in the woods for, at that point, probably 12 or 13 weeks because the school's 9 weeks, but there's other schools that lead up to that school. So, none of us had a good steak dinner or haircut. And so we're all excited, right? And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, you definitely made it. So we went out for steaks and I'm like, okay, well, I'm at the steak dinner, so I must have passed. I'm good. And then Sunday I got the email with the packing list for that Monday. And I showed up day 1 and I was a corporal, which is a very low rank, essentially, for being in that course. Captains are usually the leader, which is a much higher rank. They're the leader of the whole class. They're the class leader, not like squad leader, but they're like the leader. And so they said, your class leader of this iteration, this next 9 weeks will be Corporal Tansey. Everybody was like, what? And I was like, what? And so now I'm the class leader, which means I'm responsible for getting aircraft. I'm responsible for getting demo. For pulling ammo, like all of this crazy stuff. And I peered terrible. everybody hated me. I would screw up. I missed like almost all of our exfil. So we'd have to walk 8 or 9 miles at 2 a.m, missing hot chow. I mean, people wanted to murder me. Like people were like, man, if we can just make this guy disappear, this class will be a lot better. And so then I appeared almost dead last. And they bring me back into the murder board and they're like, hey, Tansey, you were packed mule, not a leader. You appeared really high. We made you a leader and you appeared really low. What do you have to say for yourself? And I was pretty emotional because you've been in the woods for so long. And I just said, man, this is the best opportunity. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. I didn't think I could do another 9 weeks. I haven't slept. I don't feel like in 18 weeks. Thank you for the opportunity. Not for me, but I'm good. And they were like, well, hold on. Do you want to continue? And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And they're like, if we send you to the next phase, you think you could dial it in the middle? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, we'll see you at SERE next week, which is the ultimate hardest school. It's survival, escape, resistance, and evasion. And so I cried. I was like, thank you so much for this opportunity. You know what I mean? Like real emotional. And they're like, I think he's the first guy that's ever cried. Like out of happy tears to go to SERE.
Also so emotional.
Yeah, I was of course. Oh. Yeah, and now I'm going to go get my ass beat because SERE school is where they beat you up and all this stuff. But I was excited to be there. And then I graduate SERE with flying colors. And I thought that was going to be my hardest one because, they put you in, they bury you basically. They torture you in lots of different ways. And I just thought that was going to be very difficult being that I'm not as good as everybody else. And that was another problem I had too, is that I always compared myself. I always felt less. So because I felt less, I was like, well, I can make this up by being a servant, right? Like if I'm the first one to stand up when everybody else is sitting down, then I can help somebody else up. I can get you water. If I'm the last person to sit down, you can be like, Tansey, while you're up, can you get me can you get me a banana? Can you give me that? So I was always the first one to stand up and I was always the last person to sit down low key. Cause I was like, that's the one place I can win, right? Yeah. But SERE, I don't know if you really get that opportunity to be that guy because but I passed. It was very easy for me. I mean, it sucked. It was awful, but I just gritted my teeth and just said, language just sucks, And then I get caught up in this. I'm in language school, coasting along, and it's all taken away from me. And I was very, and I had to live with that for many years. And then, it was just this. There was a sergeant major when I made the decision to get out, and he was very upset because he thought I should start over. And he said, you've got more training than anybody else, and you're going to live your whole life, and you're going to have to tell everyone you're not a Green Beret. And I was like, I don't care. And at the time, I didn't care, but it's a very difficult conversation to have with people because when you look at my resume, when you look at my DD-214, you see all of these magnificent schools and you see all this stuff, and then you see that I'm a corporal and I'm not a Green Beret, and it leaves a lot of questions. I almost didn't get hired from the police department because one of the guys that was in charge of recruiting was an actual SEAL, and he was like, there's something wrong with this DD-214. Like, this guy's got way too much to be that low of rank and not be what he's not. Yeah, so they had to do a lot of research, and the good news is, and there's a lot of podcasts where a lot of guys tell my story for me, and everybody's got a Tansey moment and a memory of me, and that's really nice. But it was like I know now why. Right, because I have 5 beautiful kids who are really excelling, and I think this was it was definitely back then God saying, "Hey, homie, like you keep wanting to do something that I don't have in plans for you. I had something else for you. I'm just not going to make this work for you." And then I became a cop.
So what pushed you to? Well, before we go into the cop piece, like when you were deployed, if you can speak to it,
of course.
What was one of the most challenging missions that you guys did?
For me, the whole challenge of it for me, deployment for me was easy. I was 19. I wasn't married. 2021 too. But like that, when I was there, when I first got into country, I think I turned 19, like a few days into it, or maybe I turned 20 a few days into it. But everybody else had wives and kids, and that was way harder for them. And I didn't have a wife and her kids, and that was very early on in my career. And so that's kind of where I discovered, like, man, I can do all of the I can do anything because I don't care if I die. Like I pretty much thought I was going to die there. I thought that was like my destiny, honestly. Like as weird as that sounds, but 19, 20-year-old Eric was like, God called me to be here, and I'm sure I'm going to leave here missing arms or legs or whatever. And I volunteered for every mission. And when I got put with that ODA, I was very quiet working with them, I just did exactly what I was told, but I did everything. Like, I mean, if there was an ammo box that needed to be carried, we got in really late at night. I wanted to really prove myself, and I was happy. I really got to serve. There were definitely times I was really, really scared. We did a snatch and grab in Tagab Valley where they kidnapped the Hank Aaron. I still to this day don't know who the Hank Aaron was, but in the briefing, that's what they called him. Really long, common spelling Muslim name that I don't know, but we call him the Hank Aaron. And driving back from that mission doing the mission wasn't that scary. We got in a firefight, doing all the shooting, but it was exfilling from the mission and waiting for something to happen because nothing bad happened yet. Like everything worked perfectly. Like the firefight went great. The kidnapping worked great. And now we're exfilling at night. There was no loom. The nods really weren't working. We knew that there was going to be a follow-on attack. We were not in a very strategic position to get out. And it was just that like maybe 30-minute drive that felt probably more like 2 hours to me, but it was probably like 30 minutes. But it was just sitting up there going, okay, when does it all go south? Because it hasn't yet. That to me was like really no.
It was just
no, we went all the way to Bagram, and the CIA picked him up and flew him to Guantanamo Bay. But for me, I don't know, that for whatever reason, that one stands out. I mean, there were definitely other moments that I experienced there. I saw a dead person in a wheelbarrow, and this woman was just pushing him down the road, and the guy's like limbs were kind of like hanging out of this wheelbarrow, and she's wearing a burqa, so you don't get to see the expression on her face. But I was just like, but nobody else cared.
The brutality.
And, like nobody gave a shit. Like here's this woman wheeling a dead body down the road in a wheelbarrow, and nobody cares. Yeah. Like, did he die of old age? Did he get blown up? Did he get shot? Like, what happened?
What was your opinion on America removing the support from Afghanistan?
Oh, I mean, it was political. It was gross. It was disgusting. Like, the fact that you would, take out, you would have everybody leave from Bagram first and not hold that, probably arguably one of the most fortified places on earth. Bagram, one of the hardest places to secure, and give that up for Kabul International. I mean, I think it's obvious. Like, I don't even know if it's in question. Like, you wanted something to go terribly wrong there. Like, there's nobody with any common sense at any higher level. And I have friends that were personally on that mission. Actually, Ranger Up Nick was part of Save Our Allies when they went over there and got the planes donated. But absolutely disgusting with the government. I mean, it was obvious they wanted that to go south. I'm not sure why.
Well, everything that was left behind as well just seemed like insane.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, the helicopters, just everything.
I don't think we were supposed to be there to begin with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's I think that whole war was very shady. Not very proud of that. That's why I didn't write about it in my book. Like, I really didn't write anything about war in my book because it's kind of a part of me that just, it's just what it was. I was 19. I had way too much fun over there. Did a lot of stupid stuff. A lot of stuff I look back now and I'm just like, why were you like that? Just mean things like to kids, like we would take Tootsie Rolls and eat all the chocolate and then save the wrappers, and we'd cut up beef jerky and put the beef jerky in the Tootsie Roll wrappers, and then we'd mix it with another bag of Tootsie Rolls, and we'd throw them all out. And so like half the kids would be like, chocolate, and the other kids would be like, what is this? And like that was funny to us, but like I look at it now that I have kids and I'm like, why was that funny? That's evil. Like, what a shitty thing to do to a child. But we laughed. We thought it was funny. Just stupid stuff like that. I taught the kids that blow pops were penises and pixie sticks were vaginas. And so like the kids would run around and be like, Mister, one penis. And I just would think that's really funny. And then I'd hand them a blow pop, and they'd be like, Mister, one vagina. And you're like, we thought it was funny, but like at the end of the day, it's like, you're
a kid too.
Yeah. We weren't making the world a better place. That's for sure. And I don't really like, it was just kind of like a weird moment in my life. I felt like I was called to do something, and I did it. And it did change the trajectory of my life because I went from being this like super innocent, fun-loving beach kid to now, a pretty hardened combat veteran. And then when I came home, I wanted to get rid of that and go back to that. And so I tried to get into the wine world. Wine's always fascinated me. And so I tried to get a job at a wine shop. I thought that's really what I wanted to do. I was going to be like a wine rep, and I was going to start out at a wine shop. And then I didn't last very long. I was like 6 months at a wine shop, and I was like, I'm the worst salesman ever. And that's when I decided to become a cop.
Okay, so let's talk about becoming a cop.
If you hunt, you know how easy it is to lose track of where you are, especially around property lines. That's why here at Country Outdoors, we only use onX Hunt, the #1 hunting app. It shows public and private boundary lines so you always know where you stand. We use it for scouting, marking spots, and even navigating. It just takes the guesswork out of everything. If you want to hunt smarter this season, go check out Onyx Hunt at onyxmaps.com and know where you stand.
Pig Latin, a seriously funny story. Zach, my husband, has played the audiobook in the car and listened to the entire thing, and I've listened to a lot of it through him. Wild stories, and you've told me many while we've been together over the last while. Tell us about that. Tell us about becoming a cop and end with why you wanted to write the book, but getting into...
Yeah. So God's works really mysteriously in my life. Didn't know any of that until recently. Recently rededicated my life to Christ since I was like 8 years old. I haven't really been a follower. And this is going back prior to that. But it's really weird how God works looking back on all of it. So I become a cop and they see my DD 214. And immediately when I get to the academy, the Navy SEAL guy calls me Special Forces. And so he starts the whole academy off with like, where's my Green Beret in the class at? And there's a Ranger in the class and there was a PJ in the class. But he was like, where's my Green Beret at? And nobody raised their hand. I'm like, oh man, there's a Green Beret in here. I wonder if I know him, right? So I'm looking around. And he was like, oh, don't make me ask twice. Where's my Green Beret at? And I'm like, man, why is this dude hiding, And then he's like, I'm looking at you, Green Beret. And I was like, I'm not a Green Beret. I'm not a Green Beret. And he was like, come on, Special Forces, why are you trying to hide? And he's like, oh, I got your number. And so from that moment forward, they all call me Special Forces. I tried to plead my case that I'm not. I didn't want some kind of stolen valor crap to go down. I'm telling everybody. And they know that it bothers me at this point. So they keep it going to make things more stressful for me. And the academy was miserable for me. It was really bad. Like they really picked on me really hard. And then when I graduated the academy, they put me in the hardest beat in the hardest district. And when I got there, they're like, dude, we've heard so much about you. We heard that you're a stud, that you're a PT animal, and that you do this and that. And we're super stoked to be here. And so I'm like, yeah. And they literally were like, day one, can I tell you my day one story? So you can just get the fit. So this is day one. You ready? So this is my day one. It's like I'm a new cop and my shift starts at 6. I want to be the early bird. You've got all this gear that you don't even know what to do with yet. I've never been in Raleigh in my life. It's a new city to me. Never been to where I'm going. So I get there like super early. I get there like 5 a.m. And I got all my stuff, dude. I got my gear bag, my guns, my bullets, my flashlight, my handcuffs, all my shit shined. I'm stoked to be at work. 5:30 hits my clock. I exit my car and start walking into the building. I open the door and it's wild, dude. There's cop cars everywhere. I'm opening the door to a precinct. We're like in a bat cave. Like I went behind a food line, behind a bank, through some trees, and now there's this precinct back there that I didn't even know existed. It's so cool. And I open up the door and I've got this uniform on. I'm stoked to be a cop. And my training officer, Jace, is in there and he was like, are you Eric? And I hadn't heard my first name in forever. It took me a minute. And I was like, yeah, I'm Tansey. I'm Eric. I'm Tansey. And he's like, good, we got a call. Get your shit in the car and let's go. And I'm like, oh man, it's like 5:31. I got roll call at 6. And I don't want to be late for roll call, right? It's my first day. So I'm stressed. I'm like, oh, geez, I don't know. I was told I got to be at roll call at 6 o'clock and now it's 5:31 and you're telling me I have a call. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to argue with this guy. It seems like he knows what he's doing. So I pick up all my bags. And I got a lot of them. And I walk out this back door and there's a sea of cop cars. Like, which cop car do I even get in? And so I stand there and he comes out and he's like, hey, I thought I told you to get in the car. I was like, yeah, which car would you like me to get in? And he was like, how about the one parked right in front of you? And I was like, oh, okay, well, sure. So I pop the trunk. I put all my stuff in there and then I go to the passenger side and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm getting in the cop car. He's like, you're driving. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I get in this cop car. It might as well be a C-130 cockpit with all the, radios and lights. The training ones don't have all that crap in it. They have mounts for it all, but they don't have. Now I'm looking at all the cameras and radars. I've never even seen the radar because I wasn't radar certified at that time. So it's beeping at me. And then I got this other, it looks like a cockpit, and he's like, I'll bring up the call and I'll tell you how to get there. And I'm looking at my clock. It's like 5:36, I'm like, man, this is going to be crazy. We got to get back for a roll call. So we get going and I'm stressing, and we get there and, he's pointing me in the direction and the sun's not even up yet. And I get there and this young black gentleman, high schoolish age, comes over there. And he doesn't roll up his window, and he just waves to him to come around the car to talk to me. So I roll down my window, and I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what the call is or about. And this kid goes, officer, my mom is off her meds and she's acting crazy. Can you help me? And I look at him and he goes, he gestures with his hand, like, get on with it. And I'm like, oh, okay, right. Like, I've been a cop now for 8.5 minutes. Like, it's 5:38 in the morning. So I get out of the car and he's like, there's my mom. And she's up on this balcony or this set of stairs is this a large 400-pound black woman with a flag wrapped around her head like Aunt Jemima. American flag, right?
Yeah.
And she's standing there and I'm like, ma'am, what's going on? Can you come down here and have a chat with me? And I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've been a cop for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't teach you this in the academy. And she looks at me, she takes her teeth out, she sets them down the railing, and she gets in the perfect boxing stance. And when I tell you perfect, like, I train in jiu-jitsu, I train in Muay Thai. I mean, elbows in, feet shoulder width apart. I mean, her head's like right there. I mean, she is in a great fighter stance. And I'm like, I'm taking it all in. I'm like, wow, that's really good, she's in a good stance. Wait a minute. This is who takes their teeth out before they fight? Somebody who's been in a lot of fights. That's who. And while this is all processing through my brain, I'm staring at her. She runs at me, and like a bull in the like a matador in the arena, I kind of dodge her, and she goes out into the yard, and I'm looking at my training officer, and he's just standing up against the car watching with the boy. And she runs out there, and I'm like, ma'am, come here. What are you doing? And she takes the flag off her head, and she fluffs it out on the ground, and she gets on top of it, and she gets on all fours, like in the doggy style position. She looks up at me, and she's like, you gonna arrest me, big boy? And I said, no, ma'am, I'm not going to arrest you. She's wearing a sundress, I'm like, I'm not going to arrest you. I just want to have a chat with you. Your son's worried about you. And she reaches, she's on one hand. And I'm watching her. She's on one hand. And I said, man, that's a big woman to be on all fours, but just with one hand. What's her other hand even doing? And before my mind can catch up to it, I see it. And I'm like, no. She's pulling this sundress up over, and she frees one of these big giant boobs, and it just kaboom, like right on the ground. And then she grabs the other one, and kaboom, another boob flops out. And I'm just taking it all in. My brain isn't fast enough to keep up, right? Like that, my brain doesn't process things like other people's brains, I guess. But so I'm kind of like just trying to wait for my wheels to spin and catch up, and they finally do, and I'm like, wait a minute, stop. And she's like, you can arrest me now? And she's butt naked. And so I'm like, and I look at my training officer, and he's like, and I was like, yeah. And she's like, come on and arrest me. And I was like, you're under arrest for lewd and lascivious behavior. And I'm like, question? Like lewd and lascivious behavior? I don't know. I like, maybe you're under arrest. I think you're under arrest. I don't think you could be. Meantime, a bus pulls up, a school bus. It's like 5:45 in the morning. Homeboy gets on the bus. I'll come back to it. But he gets on the bus leaves. I'm in the yard with this naked lady. He goes, put handcuffs on her. Before I can do anything, she springs up to her feet like a half burpee. And again, my brain goes, gosh, that's really athletic. And now she's turning around and she's grunting. But she's looking at me, faced away from me, with her head back, and she's grunting. I was like, wow, that's really angry. What is she doing? And then I look and I see something open and something come out. And I was like, wait a minute. And it's her butthole, and it's opening, and a turd's coming out. And then it all comes together. Now she's trying to poop on me. So she starts to chase me with her butt, and I'm dodging it. By the way, it's like 5:46 in the morning now. I've been a cop for 10 minutes, and I'm dodging this poop, this thing. And my training officer's like, put her in handcuffs. And I'm like, she's pooping on me. And she takes off running up the stairs, butt naked. And he goes, go get her. And he's angry. And I'm like, oh my God. So I start to run up the stairs. She comes back out of the house before I can get up the stairs. She goes, my president's black, motherfucker, and smashes something over my head. Now I'm wearing a frame that I would later learn is a painting of Barack Obama. It is hanging over my head. I get shoved out of the way as my training officer and another member go up there. He slaps her in the face, mushes her, grabs her up against the railing, pulls his pepper spray out, hands it up to her face, and he's like, bitch, you want to get sprayed? And she's like, nah, I'm good. He's like, put your hands behind your back. And she does. And he handcuffs her. He looks at me and he goes, was it that hard? And I was like, I guess not. I didn't know you could hit somebody like that, And so that was my first day, and there was no roll call, by the way. Never made it. And went to go get coffee, and of course, coffee didn't work out because we got another call. That's all in the book. And so, that was my first call, my first impression. And, I folded under the pressure. So that day went by so insanely. It was a Monday, and we must have taken 15 calls, and I probably did 5 or 6 domestics. I was struggling. I had no coffee, no donuts. Like I wanted that first day cop experience, roll call, banter, coffee, donuts, here's the ops plan. We're going to catch this guy with a warrant. My day was chaos. I think I got in one foot chase that day. It was just 12 hours of shenanigans. And then I have to go and type. And then they realize that I can't type. And I'm like, finger banging the computer, as they would call it. And so just my first day was awful. And it never really got better from there.
To 100, I don't think I lose my enthusiasm.
The more things change, the more they stay the same around here. After 40 years of dirt, sticks and leaves, I think it's safe to say the Mossy Oak family and brand are people that you can trust. So head to mossyoak.com and get your gear today. Country Outdoors is proud to partner with Yuengling, the oldest brewery in America since 1829 and the official light lager of the outdoors.
My training officer ended up going on paternity leave about 2 weeks later, and I get put with this dream team squad called the Flex Squad. These guys are badass, and they've been working together for many years, and they were just so good at what they did. And I get put with them, and they're not happy. And they're like, why do we have to deal with this rookie? But remember, my resume makes it look like I'm really cool, but I'm not. But leadership doesn't know that. And so now I'm stuck with these guys who are really, really good at what they do. And just everything that I would do would set me back. Even the harder I would try, the further back I would go. And it all kind of compiled with there's more stories in the book leading up to this, but I'm messing up over and over again. And I feel like they're going to kick me off the squad any minute. And they were. And then one of the murders that I had worked went to trial, and I was just a small blip. I had like one paragraph of the report. It was insignificant. I put up crime scene tape around it, something very small. So I typed maybe 2 paragraphs. Well, when the murders went to trial, I had so many misspellings of there, and there, where, and where, here, and here, that it retarded the trial so bad that we almost lost. The state almost lost because they would just, well, what do you mean by there? Because this means they are. So, this means by there. And so they spent like 2 days, and it was just really annoying for the jury, and it exhausted the jury. The guy was found guilty, but everybody's really upset. They were like, yo, what? You don't know how to spell? Like, what's wrong with you? And so the funny side of the story is I was like, okay. And they're like, you have to get better. You can never do this again. So my wife luckily taught at NC State. She was a writer. She was a French francophonics, which is French literature. And she edits French books and translates French books into English. So she's really good. So I started writing reports and then sending them to her to edit. And she'd send them back. And so 6 months goes by and I'm killing it. Detective comes all the way to our station. He's like, dude, what courses are you taking? You're killing it. Your reports are so good. You're getting into a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh man, I email my wife and she edits them. And he's like, man, that's really funny. That would be crazy. And I was like, no, that's what I do. And he's like, no, you don't. And he's like, wait, are you serious? I was like, yeah, is that right? He's like, you email your wife reports. I was like, yeah. And so now the DA's got to get contact. They got to drop all like 6 months worth of charges. You can't do that. It's like illegal, And so now it's like, now I'm in a lot of trouble and it just sucks. And so like now but instead of firing me or whatever, they ended up like giving me a handler to teach me how to write. And I would have to write every night and journal and give this, sergeant or whatever my writings, and he would help me get better from there. And, so I would experience these, I worked a stabbing and a shooting every week. Not to say that everybody died all the time, but someone was stabbed or shot every single week, if not every shift. Car accidents. My beat was very, very active, big city beat. And I would go home, and I'm on night shift, and my wife would go to sleep. My kids would go to sleep, and I would stay up, and I would have to write. And so I would live the experience, write the report about the experience, and then go home and write about it again. And it was like, very dark, and I was having a really hard time. And my wife was like, well, why don't you just write the funnier things that happen at work? And there was a lot of funny things. Chasing people and they lose their shoe, tasing a woman in the vagina on accident, driving a murder suspect around to get rid of the evidence, not knowing that he just murdered somebody. All these things were happening. I started writing those things. And so I collected those stories for like 8 years, just writing them. And I got the opportunity after I got out of law enforcement to be a podcaster by accident. And I was on a very famous network and had a very famous police-related show. And met a New York Times bestselling author. And he was like, dude, your stories are insane. You should write a book. I was like, actually, I have. And they were like, comedies don't sell. they don't do well, but send me what you got. Let me take a look at it. And I did. And Nick was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever read in my whole life. And we got to send this over to the editors at Simon Schuster. And so they did. And I got one, like a once in a lifetime author deal from Simon Schuster. My book's in every Barnes & Noble, Books A Million across the country. But it was, yeah. And in that whole time, I got wounded on duty, became a sommelier, chased my dream of doing that, got my certified specialist of wine diploma. And then I opened up a rum distillery before, in the process of all this. So, it was a very wild journey for me, but it was a lot of fun. And it's a crazy book. It's a really funny book. It's really funny. You're not going to like cops or hate cops anymore. Like, it's not a book like that. It's just a life experience that you're just going to be like, God, this guy's a train wreck. But it also tells us the heroic stories of my colleagues, Red and Bruno and Sears, and how good of officers they were. And like, it's kind of like us scuba diving, right? Mm-hmm. Kind of train wrecks, all of us. But like when we come together as a team, we're kind of like the dream squad. Mm-hmm. That's how my police career ended up. I ended up with the dream squad of just fantastic, really in shape, really motivated group of officers who wanted to make the world a better place. Christians, morally outstanding guys, and it was just we fought the politics, we fought the community uprisings. I got charged with murder a few times on accident, just because people would die in my presence. So yeah, the book is wild, but it's a lot of fun. It's doing really well, and now it's getting made into a TV series. So
and you probably can't speak too much about that, so people just have to be follow for what's upcoming with all of that, and go check out the book. You can either buy it audio or physically. It is Pig Latin, a serious funny story.
Oi! Stop. So I've actually been looking at buying land myself, and it's made me realize how important it is to have the right lender. And that's why I love what Rural First are doing. They specialize in land and rural financing, and they even invest back into rural communities, which I personally love. So if you're curious, like I am, go and check them out at ruralfirst.com.
Loans subject to credit approval and eligibility. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
Farm Credit Mid-America is an equal housing lender.
Rural First is a registered trademark of Farm Credit Mid-America, NMLS 407249. Rural First products are available to consumers within the territories of participating farm credit system associations. I want to dig in a little bit as well into fatherhood and homeschooling, because you've got 5 really impressive kids. They're very adventurous, athletic, outdoorsy. Tell us a little bit about that and your decision on homeschooling.
Well, that wasn't my decision. That was my wife's. She was raised homeschool and has a master's degree and taught at NC State. And she always was going to homeschool the kids. But that kind of spiraled into like home birthing and having lots of kids and drinking raw milk, the whole thing, before it was cool. We've been drinking raw milk for a very long time. And
homeschooling turned into homesteading.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah. We have, quite a bit of land, but my kids are sponsored skateboarders. They're very good at skateboarding. They have a lot of country boy skaters, my oldest, and you can look him up on Instagram. He's got a bunch of followers, and it's really funny. But no, we were homeschooling from the beginning, but this was in the era, 13 years ago, where Jocko was really cool. That other Navy SEAL, Goggins, was really cool. And I was a cop, So I was listening to all these motivational. I was doing CrossFit at the time. And I was doing all those things, waking up at 4 a.m. and doing all the diets. And I had abs, like I was shredded, veins popping out of my arms. I was a great cop, I was killing it, doing all these things. But my wife was stuck at home raising, at that time, probably our 2 sons. Now my oldest son was addicted to video games by the time he was 6, and fat video game nerd, super disrespectful, super shitty. Couldn't go to a restaurant and it just hit me one day that this world's not about me. It's not about my abs. It's not about what I look like. I have to go. It doesn't matter how strong you are. If you are in a restaurant and your kids cannot behave without an iPad, what do you think about those parents that have like 3 or 4 kids deep that don't have any iPads and are killing it, and they're looking at you like they're not looking at your abs, they're not looking at how good you look, they're like, that's a shitty parent right there. Why does they suck at parenting? And so I took everything that I learned from Jocko and all those guys. I was like, dude, I'm just gonna go all in and being a badass dad and a badass husband, because my wife deserves it, and because she's so great and she's so selfless and just a magnificent human being. I don't know what made me make that decision. I remember making it very consciously when I looked at my son and he was fat and addicted to video games. And I was like, this is my fault. That's mine. Look at me and look at that. Something's missing here. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. Sorry to cuss, but I was like, dude, I'm going to raise awesome kids and I'm going to be a banger husband. And I'm going to, this police career is going to be second to that and only second to that. And so I really just put in all my time and it was fun instantly because first thing we did was get rid of all the video games and all the TVs. That was our first thing as a family. And that went on for about 9 months. And it was great because we would go and rent movies from the library. So it would be just like the old blocks.
Blockbuster days.
Yeah. So every kid would get to pick out a video and my wife and I, and then that night, so we, like 4 nights a week, we would have a video and play. And that was the only screen time they got. And he found skateboarding. And if we wouldn't have done that, he never would have found a skateboard. He bought it at a garage sale. And, now skateboarding is his whole life and outdoors. He's kills squirrels constantly, kills them, eats them himself. All my kids sleep outside multiple days of the week. They built themselves a permanent shelter that they sleep in 2 or 3 days a week.
Yeah.
They make them big giant fires. They're just very self-reliant, fish all the time. And they're great. They're great kids. And it's really cool because when you invest into your children and you see them succeed, like you kind of stop caring about your own success and your own, because I was really into myself before that. Like I wanted my abs to show.
Yeah.
I wanted, I did CrossFit every day. I wanted to beat everybody there at CrossFit. I mean, it was really, I was spending all the money on the big containers of protein and whey and, all the things. And, but as you start, I didn't just give that up cold turkey. It was a learning process. But as I gave that up and put more effort and energy into my kids, instead of buying the big tub of this, it's like, let's buy a bunch of like raw milk.
Yeah.
Right. Or whatever, yeah. You're right. Like, let's instead of me buying something for myself that's going to make me better, let's buy better groceries for the household. And coupled with my wife being so stoked on the journey and her wanting to do that too, it was a no-brainer. And she's so knowledgeable in that, that, it was basically me failing as a leader. She couldn't do that without a partner. And I was married to the game, not to her. And so she couldn't. And so when I took over some responsibility,
you started leading.
Yeah. Well, as Christ would lead the church, I wasn't like in charge, but once I started taking responsibility and putting my hammer down, my fist down like a hammer and saying like, no more video games, no more this, like, we're going to do things this way. My wife was then able to like take her knowledge and say like, this is what we're going to eat. These are the vaccines we're not getting, we're going to start home birthing. We're going to homestead. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And now we have this whole lifestyle of, they would call it a conservative MAGA, but we're not political really at all. I've never owned a MAGA hat or a sticker or any of the sort. None of this was about politics for us. This was all about really just raising kids the best that we can. System. And we don't, well, you and I were talking, one of the craziest things, because most of our kids have never even been to a doctor. Yeah. And, a lot of people were like, well, what percentile is she in? Because one of my daughters is very tiny. And what percentile is she in? And that's crazy. Yeah. When you raise your kids feral, you're like, what do you mean? What percentile are they in? Like, who cares? What if they're in a bad percentile? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, if they're not growing fast enough, you're gonna jack them up with hormones. You're gonna like let God let it cook.
She's healthy. She's happy.
She's happy.
Stop trying to make everybody stick in one box.
Yeah. And all my kids have like hair past their butts by their choice, right? Yeah. Like they love it, and it's really funny because they will drive around and we travel so much. And every time we go by like those cookie cutter houses, you can hear my oldest son, especially, he'll be like, that is so sad. Could you imagine? And, and he sees it. I didn't teach him that. I don't care what house people live in. If you want to live in a cookie cutter house that looks the same, but he's right. He says every kid has the same haircut. Every kid lives in the same style of house. They all do the same thing. They all wear the same brands of shoes. He's got his cowboy hat and his baggy, you've seen him, just a train wreck, he's got just a great style. And so does Augie, and Elkin. Of course, they all have they're such individuals and they're individual learners and they're just so great. And as you're homeschooling them, it's so wild. Like, I can't imagine, them all having to learn the same thing. Because Augie's like a master at rocks. Like that dude can spot a rock and tell you what kind of rock that is from a mile away. He's an artist. He can paint, draw. Legos are crazy. Models, like he'll put glue, insane, right? Duke was not good at any of those things, but he can rip a carburetor apart. He can set a squirrel trap that are just blow your mind how intricate in detail. He can get in where they kill the squirrel or where they just capture the squirrel. I mean, we've got some squirrel traps that are like, I feel like we need a YouTube channel just to be like, dude, I cannot believe a child came out here. The forts that they built are insane. And then my Elkin, he loves music and he's self-taught the piano. He does it every day, loves his piano, gets on YouTube every day. We allow those learning opportunities for that. He gets on that freaking YouTube every daggone day and plays the piano for hours. Never had a lesson in his life. Kills it. Plays beautiful music. So, but if we all force them to do some kind of curriculum, I wouldn't have these
none of them would be thriving because there's an expectation for them to be all doing the same thing that probably none of them even wanted to do in this.
And they're not going to remember.
No.
Like, I don't remember anything from school. But, my kids are so smart. They teach me stuff like they love gold panning. They like to do that together. And that's the thing, too, is that they fall in love with things that we can do together. Like you see them, they haven't stopped fishing since we got here. They fish every day. Yeah. They're always hunting ponds, hunting fish. We're out and we have a creek on our property and they have gold panning and stuff. And they have panned out in that creek hundreds of hours. How much gold do you think they've ever found?
Yeah, but one day.
None.
Yeah.
But they will sit out there for hours. Yeah. And I love it. And we do travel to places where we hike in with our big backpacks. My wife sets up a camp, right? It's feral. It's not a campground. Like we'll pull over on the side of the road, look at the GPS, travel down the stream, find a good spot. We'll set up a little camp. And me, and the boys, she'll have one big bucket where she's gathering the material. I'm running the sleuths, they're panning, and it's a whole family ordeal. The girls are eating watermelon over on the thing. And we're just sitting out there all day shoveling around for gold. We do find gold on those trips. Not anything worth writing home about, but it's just, sometimes I look around, I'm like, God, how lucky am I? Like, this is amazing. And if they were in school, we couldn't do that because they're in school all day. Yep. It's so cool. I love it. And I've learned more from that than I can ever remember. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And did you find that your marriage just got better?
Yeah. I take in those early days, I really took my wife for granted. Again, I think in those early days, it was all about me. Coming from the military where I had, not accomplished my goal, getting into the police department and actually finding a rhythm. And then I wanted that success. I forgot. And it was very easy. I wanted the success. I wanted to climb the ladder. And I took her for granted. She was doing all of the legwork. She was taking care of all the bills. She was taking care of the kids. She was doing all the homeschooling. She was coming up with the hobbies. On my day off, I was sitting around playing video games with my oldest son who was like 4 or 5 years old, and she's like, this sucks. But it's my day off, so I don't want to do anything. I just wasn't a very good husband. She was so patient. She never once complained. She never once said it. And like I said, I don't know what made me have the epiphany. Really, I think it was just a restaurant where I was like, God, my kid's fat, being a turd, playing on his iPad and still not behaving in this restaurant. And there was another table with like 3 kids. And I was like, well, how did they get their kids to do that? I think I felt shamed. I was like, wow. Ugh.
If I'm hunting with a gun, I'm running a bog death grip tripod every single time. The one that got away still haunts me. And I promised myself I'd never miss again for lack of a steady rest. So when that once in a lifetime shot shows up, there's zero reason not to get locked in, get rock solid, and send it with confidence.
Where did God step into all of this for you? Because
you
said that you
I feel like God was talking to me the whole time. I just wasn't listening.
Yeah.
Like God's putting these ridiculous opportunities and saying, hey, you can thrive, but this is all about you.
Yeah.
You don't know it, but like everything that you're doing, all the choices that you've made in life has been for you. Yeah. And you're learning, but I felt like he was, and then I went on the Helene trip, Hurricane Helene, and I worked with a group of guys, and it just so happens the group of guys that were Coast Guard rescue swimmers, a MARSOC team, and a couple of SF guys, and a couple of guys from Delta, and I'm in the mix with these guys and leading teams out for recovery operations, and just the camaraderie and these guys praying. We were praying with a lot of people, and at first I was just kind of like writing it off, but I can't really tell you all the miracles. It would be like a whole nother podcast, but they were just these. I'll give you an example of one. There were some people that flew in that wanted to document what was going on. And the team that I was working with at the airfield, they were like, "Well, go with him, go with Tansey and his crew." And so I started driving around, and I pick a road, go up the hill, and the road ended, and we had to turn around. And we'd done this like 5 or 6 times, and the crew, we've got 6 or 7 cars deep, and they've got a trailer and a gator and all these things, and they were really annoyed. Where are you going? You don't even have a map. Do you even know where you're going? And they were all frustrated with me. But I'd been there for weeks doing the same thing. Like, I know what I'm doing. I don't need you to know what I'm doing. But they were very angry and grumpy and hungry and wet and just this. We haven't even helped anybody. We've been driving around for 4 hours. We're burning gas, And so I'm kind of had enough of everybody's on the radio chiming in. I said, we're going to pull into a church up here, and you guys can go to the bathroom, and we'll reconvene. We'll figure, you guys can tell me your plan, And we get to this church, man, and there's this guy. This is a great story, actually. Never told the story before. It was on like a documentary briefly, but not as crazy. I'll tell you the story. But we get this story. It's an old vet, and he walks up with a cigarette. They ask if they can interview him. He says, absolutely not. He's got a 160th SOAR t-shirt on, unit shirt. And I go, were you 160th? And he said, yeah. And I said, what are you doing here? And he's like, I just got out of the Army. I just left Savannah, came straight here. And I was like, oh, Savannah? And he's like, yeah. He's like, there was a hurricane, people in need. I just got out of the military, I don't have anything to do. So I drove my truck. I said, oh, is that your big diesel right over there? He said, yeah. I said, cool, man. I was like, hey, dude, listen, I'm with this team. We're doing search and recovery. These guys are just following me, documenting some stuff. I don't even know what they're doing. I need like some refit on some stuff. You guys got anything? He's like, yeah, I got you. I'll help you out. And all of a sudden I started talking to him, and he's like, hey, man, there's a body over here in this area. He's like, you think y'all can handle it? So yeah, sure. What you got? And all of a sudden we find out that we got a whole hollow right down the road that we drove by in this thing. That's just, everybody needs help. I mean, people are missing family members. It's just crazy. It's wild. And so I'm like, all right, this is it. We're going to start running ops here. I call back to the guys at the airfield. I tell them what I got going on. And that's it. We start working. And we do some body recoveries, and we're really helping out. I mean, we got people that need oxygen, that ran out of oxygen, elderly people. So we're flying, directing air traffic in to get them some new air tanks for their, elderly. We're getting some heaters in there. Nobody had water, electricity. We're getting set up with yurts and tents, and just like, probably a month's worth of work that we've got out in front of us. And I'm just in go mode. And this team is just, they're blown away. They're just like, whoa, what's going on? All this thing. And we do a really great job, and we recover. We make 2 like family recovery, body recoveries. And this guy, that's the 160th guy, I'm not going to say his name. No social media anyway. He doesn't really exist out, in the real world anyway. It's not like if I said his name, we'd do anything to him anyway. But he says, hey, you guys are leaving tomorrow. And I said, yeah, I'm going to go back up to Banner Elk and back to the airfield, refit, sleep. And I think we're going to go work this Toe River, because we got a couple of families over there missing some people, and they want me to get over there. He's like, all right, well, it's raining. It's 10:30 at night. I've had a really stressful day. And he says, there's a church over on such and such road. It's a brick church. Behind the ridge, there's a rock, and there's a body behind the rock. I was like, what? I was like, why wouldn't you have said something earlier? And he's like, dude, I'm done. I said, what? And he's like, I'm done. I'm done. I said, what do you mean you're done? He's like, I'm going to check out after this, after you guys leave. And I just didn't want that body to get left behind. And I don't want it to, it's my burden to carry. I should have done it myself. But just when you guys wake up in the morning before you go out there, just go over there, call Health and Human Services, and have them pick it up. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to do that. I'll get my shit on right now. So, I put on my wet, soggy pants and my wet, soggy socks and my boots, and I'm crawling out of my tent, and he's begging me like, no, dude, like, listen, just do it in the morning. Like, I'm not going, like, I'm done. Like, I don't need this anymore. Like, I was like, no, dude, you're coming with me. You're the only one that knows where the body's at. I'm not going out there by myself. We're in Appalachia, I put my gun on my hip, and I get my buddy to drive us. I wanted one more person to go. So there's 3 of us. And we're driving and he is like, I don't know if he's crying, he's in the back seat, but it's like his breathing's weird. So my buddy's driving, he kind of looks at me and he's like, what's up? And I was like, I don't know, And we pull up behind the church, we get our flashlights out, and we walk out there and he's fidgety, he's topping his gun. And I'm like, my buddy's like looking at me and I'm looking at him. So I drop way back because I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going to happen. This is really weird. And there's no body. And he's like, dude, I must have been hallucinating, man. He's like, it's this lack of sleep. And it's just like, this is why I'm telling you, I'm checking out. Like, I got to go. Like I'm done. I told you I was done. Like I'm seeing stuff. I'm so sorry. So we get back that night and he breaks into the church that we're staying at. He breaks into the back door. And I go, what are you doing? And he says, I'm sleeping in here tonight. And I knew that body behind the rock was going to be his body. And then he was going to go do it in the church. And I said, well, I'm going to come in there and sleep with you. And he started to cry and I started to cry. And then we slept together on the floor in this church. And I just decided to pray for him. And I wasn't a prayer, but I've been doing it, right? So I just, kind of prayed with him. And we got up the next morning and we held each other and he cried and he said, I'm going to go to my mom's house. I'm going to drive up to Ohio and see my mom. And I promise I'm okay. And I love you. And he's like, I want you to take my hat. And, it's my 160th hat, with this patch on it and everything. And I was like, dude, are you sure you're good? And he's like, I'm positive, man. Like, I'm good. And I was like, I knew there's nothing really I could do from there. So we leave and we get in the car and my guys were like, hey, dude, why didn't you come back last night? Where'd you go? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like I just slept over by the barbecue pit because I didn't want to tell him we broke into this church. And we're driving. He goes, dude, I think we should go back. And I said, why? And he's like, I think that guy's going to kill himself. And I was like, no, he's fine. And they were like, what? And I was like, he's good. And he's like, I slept on it all night. Like, I think that guy had us out there to kill himself. That's 100% what he did. But I think we worked through it and he went through. And so that was like kind of the first thing that if we wouldn't have got lost driving around, if we wouldn't have pulled over at that church, if we wouldn't have done that op and everybody had been pissed off, this dude would be
another one.
Just another body that you find on suicide, So just like little things. And that was just a small one, actually. Like there were so many of those stories that happened. So at the end of the whole accumulation, like 8 weeks later, my buddy's checking out and he's got multiple combat rotations. He was in Delta and just got off of active duty. And I said, are you guys, we're all packing our gear up and calling it quits. And Sentinel Foundation was going to take it on from there, which is a child sex trafficking group of SEALs. And they were going to run kind of the rebuilding kind of the community because all the recovery and stuff had been done. And I just said, this is a guy that I know for 20 years and he was in Fallujah and Armadi and all these things. And so he and I went to selection together, as a matter of fact. So I said, Bud, we hadn't seen each other in 20 years. And I was like, you leaving? He's like, yeah. And I was like, what you going to do now? And he goes, honestly, dude, I don't know. And he goes, I've prayed more than I've ever prayed before. I've cried more than I've ever cried before. And I've hugged people more than I've ever hugged before. And he's like, I have a new outlook on human life. And he said, I think I want to go and get myself right with God after this. And I was like, yeah, dude, I think I want to too. So we leave, he leaves and I leave. And these Coast Guard guys that we worked for briefly, they weren't around for any of this stuff. Didn't have any of these conversations with them. We just worked together. This dude sends me, I get a thing in the mail and he sends me 2 adventure Bibles for my kids. And I was like, you know what? Let's just start doing a daily devotion. And then I meet up with AJ for a shoot. And he's like, yo, this is going to be weird, but like, I just found Christ. Like, I just became a follower of Jesus. And I was like, dude, that is crazy. Like, I have chills because like a week ago, like I made a conscious effort. Like I literally told my wife, I was like, I want to lead my house like Christ led the church, and I want to be a good Christian. I fail. Like I've been a good father. I've been a good husband. The one thing I'm not is a spiritual leader in this house. And so like I want to stop. I want to like make that a priority. And it was crazy because I started doing these devotions, and I stopped swearing without even trying for like 2 months. I didn't even know, and I've been swearing my whole life. Of course, I swear again now. Picked it up, but I told my wife, I was like, dude, it's crazy. But I think it was just like, God's saying like, not only am I going to change you, but I'm going to take something away from you that you thought would be impossible just to show you that I can do it. And he did. And, you know, I don't know, like I picked it up swearing, but I mean, for 2 months, 3 months, I didn't say a single cuss word and I didn't even try. Like, it wasn't something I said, well, I'm going to stop cussing. It was just like
supernaturally delivered you from it.
Just to say like, dude, you're riding this high and this is what happens when you're in the right, you know,
well,
I don't know if I'm
giving it back to you to show you you're still a part of the world and the only perfect thing is Christ. So that's something you'll have to work on.
Yeah, it's just been a really wild ride, and there's like other little scenarios and stories that could keep going on that it just, you know, it was just like God. I say this, I never hit rock bottom. Never hit rock bottom. I'm not an alcoholic. Didn't do drugs. Didn't cheat on my wife. Don't have any divorce. Like I never hit rock bottom, but nothing ever would go right. All these little things, I would be owed $40,000. And it wouldn't come right when you really need that $40,000. It was like I'm always behind. And then when I made that conscious effort to accept Christ and lead my family,
and really lead,
all of those things like stopped happening. So I almost like told my wife, you know, because my wife and I talk so much all the time. And I was like laying in bed, and I was like, dude, I think I was Jonah. Like, I think all of these things that shouldn't happen to people, we're trying to do the right thing. We're like, we show up for work on time. We get our job done. And I have to chase all this money. And we have one car and we have one house and we have no bills. And we do everything that you're supposed to financially do. But I'm still like always in the crapper because somebody's not paying me what the work I've done. And I was like, I think I was Jonah because we don't have those problems now. It's like, I think it was like the whole time, God, and I don't know what the answer is now. I'm still young, right? So this was all like in February when I had this, like, so, you know, we're only talking like 6 or 7 months. I don't know what the answer is. I know that, you know, that my kids, you know, are really into it. They love Jesus. They went to Vacation Bible School in Savannah, and they're all into some Jesus. One's wearing a little Jesus bracelet. They love AJ shirts, and they're proud to be Christians, which is crazy because, you know, of course on the internet they call us the crazy homeschool brainwashing Christian, you know, and it couldn't be further from the truth. Like I you know, never once did I say we're going to be a Christian family, you know. So yeah, it's just a wild ride. I don't know, just here to see, just, you know, always want to make the world a better place. It's always, and I always want to entertain people. But now that I have something to lean on and faith-wise, it makes life a lot more tolerable. Yeah. It's just wild. Yeah. So yeah, puts a lot of things into perspective when you're in the Word. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think that story as well that you shared about Helene, I mean, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why this program is important.
Because we met these guys out of that,
Because there are so many people, first responders, wounded vets, etc., that are out there that are dealing with mental health and PTSD and in the world.
Yeah.
And just regular people, and they're important stories to share. And
how do you fight your demons? Like, how do people without it? You know what I mean? Like,
that's why God is
it's
so important.
crazy.
And that's why,
you know, you can't do it alone. Like, if you think you can, that's why you're in the situation right now. It's like, you got to give it up to God. And it's like, once you give it up to God, dude, I'm telling you, the weight of the world leaves your shoulders. I can't explain it to you. You can think it's hogwash. You can say it's a fairy tale. I don't care. I've tried everything, dude. I have done therapists before. I've done all sorts of things, you know, but when I truly gave myself up for Christ around January of 2026 this year, when I said, like, you know, when I said the prayer, you know, I was like, dude, I suck at this. Like, you got to take over. Like, what am I doing wrong? I'm out of answers. Like, you got to take control. And I really just let him take control. Like, I was like, God has the wheel. And I stopped everything. I stopped podcasting because I knew my podcast was great and as good as moral and everything. But like, there was an expectation of humor. There was an expectation of things. And, you know, I'm still trying to figure out what my relationship with Christ is going to look like. I don't even know what that means. You know, so I stopped podcasting, which is really hard to do because I had a very large podcast. But I stopped podcasting. And then, you know, I got this job with Ranger Up as a creative director. And luckily, so has it, all the guys I work with are like morally up in the up. They want to put out good content. I don't have to worry about being foul and crass. I stopped doing stand-up comedy. Now I'm going to do clean comedy. I've got a comedy show coming up in 2 months, and I'm going to try clean comedy for my second time ever in history. Clean-ish. My stills, I'm not a perfect guy. Like I'm still swearing a lot. I still, I have still.
No one's expecting you to be.
But I do have a conviction and I do have a relationship with Christ, which is more important than anything.
I'll tell you like a prayer that I pray, which is, when it comes to career, because I've had a lot of different roads lead me from ego into like what is my purpose. But I pray all the time, God, show me how to glorify you and your kingdom with the gifts that you've been given, that you've given to me, with my family, with my talent gifts, with my finances, everything. And like, that's the prayer. And then it's his. And he will show you, and he will put things in front of you. And like, even with my podcast, with Country Outdoors podcast, when we turned it video, my prayer was that I wanted him to shine through it. Mm-hmm. And 98% of my podcasts, Jesus comes into it.
Yeah, so crazy,
yeah,
right?
And like, you know how you were saying before, like your show and all of this stuff, when you give it to him, and what he wants for you, he's going to give it to you, and he's going to show it to you, and there's not going to be any push and pull with it. There will sometimes be confronting. You know, you'll find like you'll come across people that'll kind of, when people aren't followers of Christ, sometimes they feel very convicted when you bring up Christ, and like you don't want them to feel judged either.
Sure,
but you also will find yourself in positions where you need to stand strong in your faith for what you believe in.
Right.
So
it's wild, like how offended people get when you just tell them you're a Christian. And they're like, "Oh, so you're one of those judgment." It's like, have I ever judged you? Like, it sounds like you're kind of judging me right now. Like,
you know, that forgive them, Lord, for they do not know what they
do not know.
exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
And
yeah.
And so you just have to, you have to like honestly have empathy. And
but it kind of like makes it like more real to me too. It's just like, if there's that much power in saying you're a Christian, like if you said you're a Muslim, people don't say anything. If you say you're Jewish, people don't really care, you know, but like, if you say like, I am a Christian, you know, like Charlie Kirk or anything like that, I mean, like, wow, what a hated person for no reason. Like Charlie Kirk didn't do anything crazy, but people just viciously to the point of murdering him, hate him. And so that's how much power is in that name. So that's why I know it's real, you know.
That's awesome. All right. My last question for you that I love to ask people is, what do you want to be remembered for?
I don't think I do. I just, if I had a lineage of a generation of kids that just, one day there's just that, I live for that name, the Tansey name, as long as 25 years ago, the Tanseys are still good Christian, good human beings making the world a better place. That'd be good enough for me. I don't necessarily need to be remembered for anything.
That's a great answer. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Dude, thanks for having me. Yes, this is such a blast. I had a great time.
I feel like we're just scratching the surface, but I'm super excited for hopefully the series to come out.
Yeah, me too.
In the next while, and for everybody to be able to get more of a visual experience over your Pig Latin.
Seriously funny true story.
Yeah. And in the meantime, guys, if you want to go and check out Eric, you can head to Eric Tansey on his Instagram. Go check out all his son that has.
Yeah, I mean, like, you don't have to go see me. I don't really do a lot of anything interesting on my social medias, but Ranger Up. You can hit Ranger Up. Look at all the skits and all the stuff. Yeah. SDI. Yeah.
In the future, there's going to be an opportunity to submit wounded vets and first responders with certain levels of what do you call injury?
Yeah. Or just like scuba training. I mean, like, like I said, wounded veteran, a disabled veteran, a regular veteran, Gold Star family, and a first responder. That's the goal. 5, one from each category. Yeah. That's the goal. So yeah, there will be definitely times where we are going to want you to submit, someone that really deserves it. Who's that first responder that really deserves a break? And these, it would be all inclusive for the family, for everything. You'll come down, you'll get trained. They'll you'll be with the celebrities. So, you're going to get all that celebrity treatment and then just, really focus on the family and the fun. And of course, Scuba, you have no choice but to work through all these things. So it's so perfect for that community.
Awesome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you guys, man. Had so much fun.
A lot of us grew up with Field and Stream, dreaming about our next cast, our next hunt, and our next outdoor escape. So join the 1871 Club today and head to fieldandstream.com/1871 Club.
wished a war